It can be difficult to target bass whenever the water temperature is low, but this is when the jerkbait truly stands out from other lures. The jerkbait is one of the most productive lures that you can use during the winter, especially if you're targeting suspended bass. Many bass anglers do not have confidence throwing a jerkbait, but learning this technique can be a very important tool to use whenever the water temperatures are very low. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 5 common jerkbait mistakes that I see many anglers make whenever they're fishing it whenever the water temperatures are very low. All of these jerkbait mistakes are very easy to fix, and by fixing these, you will get a lot more bites whenever you're out on the water, and you could potentially catch your next personal best bass. As long as you can brave the cold, you can have some of the most productive days out on the water while bass fishing out the whole entire year. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing so you do not miss out on future content. Also, if you feel like supporting the channel even more, make sure you check out my channel membership. This will go directly into the channel and will help cover some of the cost of running the channel, and it will help provide the best quality content for y'all. But anyways guys, sit back, relax, and let's get into this video. The first mistake that I see many anglers make whenever they're fishing the jerkbait is not matching the hatch. Matching the hatch is crucial whenever you're fishing the jerkbait because in most situations you will be fishing this in clear water. The bass will be able to see the jerkbait from further away and will be able to inspect your lure compared to if you're fishing in muddy or stained water. I feel like with many different presentations the color does not matter as much, but whenever you're fishing a jerkbait in ultra clear water, you want to look as realistic as possible. To determine what forage you should imitate, it is important to consider what the bass are feeding on in the body of water that you are fishing for that particular day. Whenever I'm fishing a jerkbait, I normally imitate a blueback herring, shad, or other bait fish that are present in the body of water that I'm fishing in. For example, some lakes might have a large population of perch they feed on, while other lakes might have a large population of blueback herring they feed on. Down here in the Carolinas, we have a bunch of blueback herring in our lakes, so one of the best imitations that you can do is a blueback herring. A good helpful tip is to look out for bait whenever you're out fishing, and if you get lucky enough, the bass might spit up some bait in your boat. By observing the different types of forages in the body of water that you are fishing, you will become much more effective fishing a jerkbait, and you will get a lot more bites whenever you match the hatch. The jerkbait can resemble many different types of forages that the bass will feed on, and is my go-to technique whenever the bass are chasing bait fish or whenever they are suspended in the water column. Make sure whenever you're fishing in colder water situations with the jerkbait that you pay attention to what the forage is that the bass are feeding on. By matching the hatch, you'll become much more effective using the jerkbait, and you will catch a lot more bass, and you could potentially catch your next personal best. The second mistake that I see many anglers make whenever they're fishing the jerkbait is not using the right gear. It is crucial to use the right gear whenever you are fishing a jerkbait to maximize the action and to make sure that the jerkbait dives as deep as it's supposed to go. Whenever you are fishing a jerkbait, it is important to consider the rod that you are using, the reel speed, and the pound test of the line that you're using. When selecting a jerkbait rod, you want to make sure that it has enough backbone to cast your jerkbait, but you also don't want it to be too stiff to where it affects the action of your jerkbait. I personally like to use a 7-foot medium fast action rod whenever I am fishing the jerkbait. Some people like to fish with a shorter jerkbait rod, but it really does come down to personal preference and what you like. When selecting a reel, I personally like a faster gear ratio so I can reel in the slack much more quickly. But you also don't want a reel that's too fast that will affect the action of your jerkbait. This will come down to personal preference and what you like to use. Whenever it comes down to what type of line you should use, I would recommend fluorocarbon just because it sinks in the water and it will help your jerkbait get down to the desired depth much more quickly. Also, fluorocarbon line is hard for the bass to see, and since the jerkbait is a clear water technique, this is absolutely essential. When selecting what line size that you should use, I personally like to use as light of line as I can get away with. Most of the time for me, I personally personally like to use 12-pound tests so I can maximize how deep my jerkbait dives. If you are using a heavier line, it will sink much more slowly and you will not get in the strike zone as often, and you will miss a lot of fish doing this. Using as light of line as you can get away with is especially crucial this time of year because generally the bass will relate to more deeper water. By using the right gear whenever you are fishing a jerkbait, you will become much more efficient and you will catch a lot more bass whenever the water temperature drops. The third mistake that I see many anglers make whenever they're fishing a jerkbait is not fishing it in the correct depth. Whenever the water temperature is low, the bass will relate to deeper water because it is warmer than the water up near the surface. This is why this time of year especially, it is crucial to fish your jerkbait in the right depth. You will become a lot more effective fishing your jerkbait whenever the water temperature is low, and you will get a lot more bites overall. The jerkbait is a great tool to target suspended bass no matter what depth they're in. The best way to determine what depth you should fish your jerkbait at is by utilizing your electronics and seeing where the bass are suspended at. This can be different depending on the day or the body of water that you are fishing. You can still be effective fishing the jerkbait if you have no electronics. You're just going to have to do a little bit more guessing if you had electronics. Here around Western North Carolina, we have a lot of deep lakes, so most of the time I am fishing a jerkbait that can dive down deeper in the water column. However, it really depends on where the bass are staging up at for that particular day. So being flexible is key this time of year whenever you are fishing a jerkbait. I like to use a Megabass Vision 110 plus 1 or a Megabass Vision 110 plus 2 depending on where the bass are relating at in the water column for that particular day. These jerkbaits dive deeper than your traditional jerkbaits on the market, with the plus 1 diving to 9 feet and the plus 2 diving from 12 to 16 feet. However, like I mentioned earlier, you want to use as light of line as you can get away with so your jerkbait dives to the rated depth. By being able to fish your jerkbait in deeper water whenever the water temperature is low, you will become a lot more efficient fishing the jerkbait this time of year. Let me know in the comments section down below if you use deeper diving jerkbaits whenever the water temperature drops. The fourth mistake that I see many anglers make whenever they're fishing the jerkbait in cold water is fishing it way too quickly. By fishing the jerkbait too quickly, you will not get as many bites compared to if you are fishing it slower. This is because the forage that the bass feed on do not move as quickly this time of year whenever the water temperature drops. By fishing the jerkbait more slowly, you will better imitate the behavior of the forage that the bass are feeding on, and you will get a lot more bites whenever you are fishing the jerkbait in cooler water situations. The jerkbait shines in cold water temperatures and is one of my favorite lures to target lethargic bass whenever they don't want to commit to any other lure, because of how slowly you can work the jerkbait. Depending on how cold the water temperature is will determine how long I will pause my jerkbait for. For example, if the water temperature is in the high 30s, I will slow the jerkbait way down, and sometimes I will let the jerkbait pause for up to 30 seconds. I try not to fish this slow as much as possible, but sometimes this is one of the best ways to get lethargic bass to bite whenever the water temperature is very low. I really like to cover as much water as possible this time of year, so fishing the jerkbait a little bit more quickly will help me achieve this. I will normally pause the jerkbait from anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds depending on the mood for the bass for that day and how low the water temperature is. Whenever I'm out on the water, I will experiment with how long I pause my jerkbait for to see what the bass are in the mood for that particular day. Also, it is important to remember that the bass will generally hit your jerkbait on the pause. It is essential that you pause your jerkbait for long enough to entice the bass into biting. Whenever the jerkbait is paused, this looks like a dying bait fish and the bass just cannot resist it. It is very important to change up your retrieve and not fish it the same way every single cast. By changing up your cadence, you'll be able to tune in on what speed the bass will react to the best. By keeping this in mind, you will greatly improve the quantity and the quality of the bass you catch whenever the water temperature is very low. The fifth mistake that I see many anglers make whenever they're fishing the jerkbait is not utilizing the Megabass Vision 110s. Whenever the water temperature is very low, the bait fish that the bass will feed on slow down, and you want your jerkbait to resemble the forage as best as possible. The Megabass Vision 110 has the most lifelike action of any jerkbait that I've fished before and catches a lot of fish whenever the water temperature is very low. There have been days before when I've been out on the water with a friend and we've been fishing different brand jerkbaits. Almost every time, the Megabass Vision 110 has outperformed other jerkbait brands that my friends have been throwing. The reason why the Megabass Vision 110 does so well in colder water temperatures is because of the tungsten multi-way balancing system. This system gives the jerkbait the darting action that resembles the bait fish very well this time of year, and it also allows you to cast the jerkbait even further so you can stay in the strike zone for even longer. To get the best action and diving depth out of your Megabass Vision 110, it is recommended to use anywhere from 10 to 12 pound test fluorocarbon so you can get the most realistic action out of your jerkbait. I have a lot of confidence fishing the Megabass Vision 110 this time of year, and I have caught a lot of nice bass whenever the water temperature is very low. If you have not tried a Megabass Vision 110 before, you are missing out on one of the best lures to use whenever the water temperature is very low. Whenever I think about fishing low water temperatures, one of the first lures that pops in my head is the Megabass Vision 110. I also want to add that I am not sponsored by Megabass in any way, shape, or form. I just really prefer their products and I have been a big fan of them for years now. Make sure if you haven't already to try out the Megabass Vision 110, and I promise you will not regret it. However, like everything in bass fishing, it really does come down to personal preference and what works best for you. Let me know in the comments section down below if you throw the Megabass Vision 110 whenever the water temperatures drop. These are the top 5 mistakes that I see many anglers make when fishing a jerkbait whenever the water temperature is very low. The jerkbait is one of my confidence lures to use whenever the bite gets tough, and by using it, you will increase the quantity and the quality of the bass you catch whenever the water temperature drops. Let me know if this video helped you in the comments section down below. Also, to let me know that you made it to the end of the video, comment down below what the biggest bass you've caught on the jerkbait is. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button to help the video in the YouTube algorithm so more people can get recommended this video. If you are not subscribed and you made it this far in the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you do not miss out on future uploads. Also, if you feel like supporting the channel even more, make sure you check out my channel membership. This will go directly into the channel and will make sure that I can provide the best quality videos for y'all. If you want to check out another proven fish catcher when the water temperature is low, make sure you check out this video right here talking about the Ned rig.